Hello guys, this is Spontaneous Movie Reviews. I'm Richard and today we're talking about Avatar, the movie from 2009. We got Avatar from 2009, the most famous Avatar. Um, just so you guys know, this is probably my first video I'm talking in English language like ever. So this will be a new experience for me. This will be my first movie review on this channel. I don't want to waste too much time on this. I just want you to know that this is maybe the start of something new. So let me get let me get used to it and just give me some time. But I think eventually we will get there to better reviews, hopefully. But this is just getting used to it, probably. Normally I'm from Germany, just so you guys know, and I've just did German videos all my life until now. So now it's the first time I really want to try this. But enough of that. Now we want to talk about Avatar from 2009. So, of course, it's a very famous, very popular, and very controversial movie. And before I dive deep into it, I just want all of you to know that, of course, I know this movie has a big fan following, and there will be divisive opinions, and there will be criticism, there will be positives. I just want you guys to know that this is just my honest opinion. I will always try to be as honest as I can on these reviews. It's just basically, I will try my best to be as objective as I can, but in the end, it's just down to personal preferences, subjective. I can only get that far. It's just at some point, it's just hard to always be as objective as you want if there are just too many things. Like everybody has its own tastes, right? Just wanted to say that from the start, from the get-go, so you guys please don't attack me in the comments or anything. If this is not your opinion of the movie, this is completely fine. It's just mine. And obviously, the first question comes to mind: why am I doing a retro review from a movie which is already how many years it's been? It's been 14 years old. Why am I doing a movie review for this movie right now? I don't know. It's just very spontaneous right now. I just have to say that I've watched the movie probably up to 6, 7, or 8 times. I did watch this movie a couple of times, and I can say that I wasn't always the biggest fan of it, you know, to say that. I was one of those kind of people, who was just basically just getting along with it, getting along with the hype, and I've seen it, of course, when it came out, and I don't even remember if I saw it in a theater or if I was watching it at home for the first time, but I believe I was in a theater, but I'm not even sure anymore, to be honest. But what I can say is that I did enjoy the movie at the first time. It was not love at first sight. Like I wasn't like amazed by the movie. I mean, I was 8 years old when this movie came out, so probably maybe I was already nine, but I believe I was 8 years old. Um, I did like it. I'm always a big sucker for science fiction action movies. I just love that. Like Star Wars is my favorite movie franchise of all time. So of course there are things I'm going to like about this movie. It's just I don't know. There have been some things which didn't really click automatically with me with this movie. It's just you know, but anyway, obviously it's a movie made by James Cameron, also written by James Cameron and produced by James Cameron. Um, Other namely producers I can name are Brooke Breton and John Landau, who's also producing the sequel now, Avatar: The Way of Water, which is coming out later this year. So he's also producing the new one, and the music is composed by James Horner. What I can say about the music, just from the start, just to get that off my list here, is it's a great score. I think it's a very, very solid to great score. Like it's a great score. It sounds pretty beautiful at times. It doesn't like it did remind me a lot of earlier works from James Horner or even like Hans Zimmer, like even Titanic, for example, like Gladiator. It has that like that mystical I don't know, like how does that sound? Like African touch to it. It has a very distinctive sound, and I think it's a great score. I don't think it's like an amazing score, but I think it's all right. It's fine. Um, the cameraman was Mauro Fiore. I think that's how to pronounce his name. He's Italian. And he won an Oscar for this movie. In general, this movie won 3 Oscars, 3 Academy Awards. Probably all of them pretty much deserved, to be honest. But especially this one for the camera. What can I say? It's it's fantastic work, to be honest. I'm a huge sucker for great cinematography, and I think this movie has beautiful cinematography. There are beautiful pictures. I know, like, of course, this movie is basically like I don't know, 95% CGI, but it like the camera work is really awesome. Like it's really the one thing that that makes this movie for me. And just a little backstory, well, not backstory, just so you know why I'm doing this review now is I did watch it today again in a theater for the first time since it came out, because obviously it got back to theaters because of The Way of Water, because of the new one coming out later this year. So I don't know if it's also the case in the US or in anywhere else, but I believe so. I probably, right? I mean, probably it's out everywhere around the world right now in cinemas again. Obviously, just in limited ones, but I believe it's, yeah, for sure. It has to be. So, from what I know, this has only a frame rate update, like this version, which is now in cinemas. And I did see that. I did definitely see that. I watched it like on the biggest screen you could possibly think of. Like here in Germany, here in Nuremberg, we have the Cinemagnum, which has like the biggest widescreen probably in all of Europe, or at least that's from what I know. It's basically the biggest theater screen you could like possibly think of. And so yeah, it was just a very spontaneous decision to watch this movie again. As I said before, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I definitely liked it. And it's just I don't know, it's just a popcorn movie for the mood. Like you have to be in the right mood for it, for sure. But I was just really in the mood for it. And I said to my dad, why not watch Avatar again? And then we just went to the theater and watched it again. And what can I say? I'm not really like that hyped about the new one coming out. I'm just really curious is probably the right word. I'm really curious about what James Cameron has done with the sequel. I am curious about it. But that doesn't mean that I'm like extremely hyped or extremely excited about it. I'm really not. But I'm just curious, you know. I'm a movie geek, and of course, I will watch it. And because of that, I just said to myself, you know what? I need to watch Avatar again right now. There's this possibility, and yeah, but I wasn't really that curious about the update. Like I was not expecting anything. Like I was not expecting that much from the original version. What can I say? It's so this is the theatrical version. Of course, there are also two other versions of this movie. I used to watch the limited collector's edition probably the most times, which is the longest version, which is around 178 minutes. This one is the theatrical version, which was also in cinemas this time, is the 162-minute version. Um, it's a long movie for sure, and to be honest, just to get this from my list, I think it's definitely. I mean, in general, I say this about a lot about James Cameron movies, but I think this movie is too long, to be honest. I just believe that it could have a much more better or more fitting pace if it would be like 30 or even 40 minutes shorter. I'm not even joking. Like, um, I don't think like it's not that dramatic. Like, I don't want to say it's like a just way too long movie. It's not that far, but it's just I just feel like it could be better if it would have been shorter. It's just a feeling, and um, why that is also because the middle part of the story, the middle part of this movie, just it just feels I don't know. Um, there's just a disconnect in the middle of this movie, which I felt always when I watched this movie, and again I felt it this time as well. And just at the end, the movie really picked me up again, and I was really connected to it again. So to say this, I think Avatar is one of these movies, in my opinion, which has a great start. I think the first 20 to 30 minutes are really good. I think it's a good start. What I love about the start is like when Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington, when he's coming, when he's arriving on Pandora with the ship, um, you just feel that atmosphere, you know, of Pandora and this huge nature on this planet and all these soldiers and the headquarters there, and it's just I don't know how to describe, but I think I would describe it as it feels very big and cinematic. You know, like that's the best way I can describe it. I think the opening of this movie I think is really really good, and it works pretty well. Um, so yeah, about the actors, what can I say? Sam Worthington here is the main actor. I wasn't always the biggest fan of him, but I think in this movie he probably gets about it like he gets the job done. But not just that, I think he did a pretty good job, to be honest. I was not when I first saw this movie, I was not knowing him at all. But so this was the first movie I did see the actor, and I think he's fine. You know, he's solid, and I think to play a Marine who is like an ex-Marine, I'm sorry, who's like coming to this planet, and you know, um, like of course at the start he's like naive, and he's just you know thinking about getting a restart, you know, getting a new life, starting a new um life basically. But then of course he changes, and he changes his views, and he gets more I don't know how to describe it. Like his mind gets more sophisticated, and he's like just from out of nowhere he's like really engaged with the Navi, and this you know this these people, you know, and he's like really changing his mind. And I think, you know, I don't want to talk too much about politics in this review, but and political views and shit like that. But to be honest with you, I think this movie really had a lot of potential to be much more. Like I don't know how to describe, but I think there is parts to this movie where I really felt like, for example, so just okay to get down the other actors, um, at least one of them, which is Sigourney Weaver, which is who is playing like the like the boss from the scientists. Um, I don't remember her name like from the character right now. I really don't. Anyway, um, she's great. To be honest, she's great, and I think she's also my favorite part, like my favorite portion of this movie. To be honest, I'm really a fan of Sigourney, and it's mainly because of the Alien franchise. Of course, I love the Alien movies. Um, but I think she's great, and I think she really fits in pretty well in this movie. I think she's great. I mean, of course, she has no like she never usually never has this big huge emotional part, but other than uh, fuck, sorry, I'm swearing. I don't remember. A Monster Calls. All right. Well, I'm so glad I remember this movie name. I just remembered the German name of the movie, but a Monster Calls. In the Monster Calls, Sigourney Weaver plays a very emotional part. There, she's really having a great emotional part. But here in this one, of course, she's like had her usual business, I would say. But I think she's really solid in this role, and I think she's just I don't know, giving the movie a right feel to it. You know, I just think she's just a character, or she's just an actress, which is generally just like I don't know how to say it. She's just a very positive figure, you know, and I think in this movie she is that exactly that what you want and need from her. She's exactly that. So on the cutting work, I need to say, like, this movie was cut by James Cameron himself, John Brefura, or man, I don't know if I pronounce this right or wrong, but I'm sorry, and Stephen E. Rifkin. Those were the cutters of this movie. I think the cutting work is pretty good. Like the editing, I'm sorry, of course. I think the editing of this movie is pretty great. You can see it in nearly all of the like in every aspect of the movie, you can pretty much see that they did a great job on the editing in the editing room. Like especially when it before the last act, when it comes down to the battle of of the Navi and the like the Marines, or like the ex-Marines, whatever, the soldiers. When it comes down to the battle, you can really see the editing like coming through. It's a really great edited movie in my opinion, and in general, from the technical aspects, I think it's a very good movie. Like you cannot pretty much argue with that. It's a technical, like many people would probably say, like it's a technical masterpiece, but um, it's really just great. It's a great movie on the technical aspects, and I think this movie was shot on IMAX cameras. At least that's what I believe. That's what I tend to believe. I think those were IMAX cameras. Great cameras, we love them, of course. Especially like Christopher Nolan fans, and I tend to love those cameras as well. It's just a great picture, and in this movie you can really see it coming through again. It just looks massive, and it's just awesome. You know which movie I thought of when I like watched this movie again today? It really reminded me of Craig Fraser's camera work on Dune, which he also won an Oscar this year. But in Dune, it's also like you have this big picture with like very like the camera is always near to the characters, which I usually like the style. And here in Avatar, it's even more closer. Like I don't know how to describe it other than that it makes you feel very like into, like you really feel like soaked into the adventure. And in this movie it's also a positive thing in my opinion. Like you really feel like you're getting part of this huge adventure, and this is like, again, this is a positive. This is parts of the cinematography. This is great work. And so what can I say? Now we get down to the, well, other actors which are also in this movie are Giovanni Ribisi and Stephen Lang. Both of them are like the villainous characters, if you can describe them as that. But basically, Giovanni Ribisi like gets a little redemption at the end. Like he's not that evil, really. He's just basically the boss who's just making his job, or I don't know how to how to describe it in any other way. But and Stephen Lang is just, he plays the stupid soldier who's just thinking about himself and about strength and striking the enemy down. And I don't know, I sound like I just did my best Arnold Schwarzenegger imitation, but no. But yeah, he's like this kind of guy. To be honest, I think Stephen Lang is great in this movie. I think I really like him in this role. And in general, I thought when I looked back on this movie like a couple of years ago, I would have said that what I didn't like about this movie at first is that there's not really this huge villain or this like interesting character who's evil. This movie just doesn't has that one character. It doesn't has that. And for a long time, I thought this was a negative thing about it. But to be honest, now when I watched it again, I really felt like this is a positive thing. Because I really like the combination of Stephen Lang as this soldier, and of course, Giovanni Ribisi is the boss basically of this soldier corporation, whatever, of this mission. Um, I think it works. I think it works, and to be honest, like the main villain in this movie, in this story, let's be honest, is again, it's more than one person. It's this whole system of taking stranger things, taking like taking things from other people's environments and making them yours just because you want to make profit and money, basically. Like, it's the same here, but this is where I come back with the political aspect of this movie, where I see a lot of potential, is that it could have been more than just the white soldier guy who comes to the to this to this different species and is saving them, basically is saving the day, is the hero, and just because he basically learned that his side is the wrong side, right? It could be more than that, and especially I think, as I don't want to criticize James Cameron in any way, no, but I don't know, it's a little paradox at times, this movie, in my opinion, because this whole system, what it targets is like a huge part of America itself, like, especially, like, when we get down to things like war, specifically, this whole thing of getting resources from other countries just because you want to have them, and because of that you just basically destroy everything and kill the people. This is not just, of course, this could be any country, right? This could be any. This is just. It's very political, right? It's this whole message of war, and why this whole ideology of they why war exists, pretty much. This whole thing, and I just believe this movie could have done a little bit more, but they didn't choose this path, and it's fine. It's just a little. There could have been more. You know what I mean? So now we get down to the story. Now we get down to the issues I have with this movie, because I do have some issues. I do think that this movie has a lot of issues, to be honest. So from the positive side, again, I've already said it. The technical aspects are huge. It's a great technical movie. It works great. It's visually, this is the biggest positive about this whole movie, and I've seen it again today. Visually, this movie is stunning. It looks awesome. It feels awesome, but of course, it's also down to opinion. Let's be honest. It's down to subjective opinions, because I mean, there could be an argument of people who would say that this movie is basically is a CGI fest, and it looks like a fucking video game, and it's nothing more than that. Yeah, yeah, you could say that. There's no argue about that. Like, you could say that, and if you don't like CGI, or if you don't like movies which just look like they've made completely in front of the green screen, then of course you will not like it. You will not like this visual style. But as a guy as myself who appreciates CGI when it's done well, I think even there have been people who criticized the CGI effects for this movie, but to be honest, in my opinion, even like from the age of 2009, I think it looks great. I don't really have anything else to say about it. I think it looks great. I think it's a great class in CGI work on big blockbuster movies. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just really down to if you like it or not. But I think it's fine. For me, it works. Um, and this has always been the biggest positive to me about this movie. I just think it looks stunning, and it's a fun movie, you know? If you really accept everything as it comes, it's a very fun movie. It's a great sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, action adventure, you know? It is fun, definitely. And as I said before, the first 30 minutes or something are really good, in my opinion. And when you like really when this world building starts and when you get to know Pandora, I think this is the part where the movie really um, has a plus. And on the other side as well, I think the ending, like the whole last act with the battle and how it turns out and everything, the conclusion and everything, is also great in my opinion. I think that the especially the aerial combat scenes, the fight scenes on the, I don't even know how they call them, but here in the German um, version, they call them bungees. Um, because of bungee jumping, you know, the those dragons, right? Those dragons they fly on. Yeah. I'm sorry if I don't know these specific names. Okay, I'm not too deep into Avatar mythology. I'm sorry, I don't really know that much about it. But these whole combat scenes in the air, with the pilots and the helicopters, I think those work perfectly. This is really like the part where I had the most fun with the movie. Specifically because the action, it looks great, it sounds great. The sound team, again, even the sound on this movie is awesome. It is great, and it's just this is the part where I had a lot of fun. You know, I'm not the biggest action geek, but I definitely appreciate action when it's well made, and in my opinion, those scenes were pretty well done. Um, so yeah. Now, of course, we also have Wes Studi and Zoe Saldana in the movie, which are both of them are parts of the Navi. Zoe Saldana playing the big female character of the movie, which later on, of course, Jake falls in love with. Um, I think she is pretty much another big positive about this movie, just because Jake, let's be honest, is a Navi, or not Navi. I mean, he is not a Navi, right? He he's an avatar, but you know what I mean. Um, he gets to that point, of course, but anyway, um, I think, let's be honest, this movie has some stupid humor. It's not too stupid. It's just very like, it's gentle. It's just, you know, get your brains off and just relax kind of humor. I don't know how to describe it. I think the humor is fine. It sits well with me, but to be honest, it's not really like something I would like laugh my ass off or anything. In general, I never thought of that with James Cameron as a movie director. True Lies was probably the movie where I like really felt like the humor was most of my taste, but it was just so over the top that it was just awesome because of Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course. But here in this movie, it's just, I don't know. It's okay, but I wouldn't need it. Let's say that way. I think it's just really something you like or you don't like, or you just move along with it. And for my part, I just moved along with it. It was just fine, you know. Um, now when we get down to now, basically I've said all the positives about this movie, so now we get down to the negatives. Let's be honest, it's a simple, very, very simple story. And I don't know, people said this in the past, and I'm sure if you're familiar with this movie, you've read this before, or you have been on the internet and you have read this. And of course, this movie is probably really just a copycat combination of Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves. I cannot really comment about that because I've never seen any of them. I still need to watch Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves. But I basically know the main plot lines of those two movies, and I see that. I see that, definitely. In general, I think nothing with this movie really feels so original. Let's be fully honest here. Like, it's not a very original movie. Like, I think, as I said before, visually it's a stunning movie. It works, technical aspect works, but when we really get down to the story, to the heart of this movie, it's really not that much originality there. It's just things of the past. It's just things you have seen before, right? This whole idea of a soldier, or like, yeah, a soldier changing his mind and becoming the good guy, the hero, and supporting the underdogs, basically. This whole story, it just feels all so familiar, right? And I had the same feeling even when I first saw this movie as an 8-year-old kid. I was not having the feeling of, wow, this is so new and original and awesome. Like the same thing I felt when I watched Star Wars. I don't want to compare Avatar in any way with Star Wars. Trust me, they cannot be compared. They're not even in any way familiar. But just to find one movie I can compare it to, just completely randomly, um, when I watched Star Wars for the first time, I had this huge wow effect of, wow, what is this? This world, those characters, and this ideas. And but with Avatar, I definitely didn't have that. When I watched the movie, I was just feeling like, okay, I've seen this before. And I have this feeling the whole time when I watch this movie. And it's fine. It's fine. I accept it. It's fine. It's just not. It can, in my opinion, the movie just cannot really go that far because of this downside. Because of its unoriginality, you cannot just say this is like a whole masterpiece, because it's clearly not, to me at least. It's just not original enough for me. And the next thing, which is, in my opinion, another big negative about this movie, is that, as I said before, there's this middle part where every time I watch this movie, I feel disconnected. Like, I start to feel disconnected. It's this part where Jake learns all the stuff with the Navi and everything. And when he's learning all of that and all of their culture and everything, and it drags on for at least 20-30 minutes. And this is like the part where my brain just goes, it's just running through the motions, basically. It's just really not. I don't really pay that much attention to it. It's just not that interesting. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, you know, I don't know how to describe it in any other way. It's just not something that makes me feel amazed or very entertained. Not at all. And I think it's also down because of the storytelling. I just really believe this movie has not the best storytelling because there is really not much substance. And this is the issue. There is not that much substance. And not just that, there's really just not much depth, you know? There's really not much depth. And this is the downside of this great action adventure. It's that when you really want something deeper, with characters getting developed and having twists and turns and different sides to them and more depth, you really will not get it with this movie. You will not get it, and it's just really, it's down to the storytelling, it's down to the story itself. It's just really a very simple story, and there's not that much space for any character development or character depth. There's just not much there, you know. Even with Jake Sully, but with Jake Sully, I really believe there would have been more potential. As I said before, not just the political aspect of it, but I really felt with the character of Jake Sully, I felt like they could have made him this, you know, this really, you could have, I don't know, you could have just embraced his whole journey to the Na'vi a little bit more, you know, and his hate and frustration of, you know, having being part of this wrong side for all of those years. Like, it's not like he's just been part of it now where he's arriving on Pandora. No, like, come on, he's an ex-Marine, so he has seen this before, right? You know what I mean? It's just basically his whole life changes, and his whole ideas, his whole views changes, and I see a lot of more potential in there, which they really didn't embrace, and they didn't show in this movie, and that is a little bit sad. But it's, you know, it is what it is. And as I said before, if you're looking for character development and more depth, this is definitely not the movie. And this is basically the biggest negative I have for this movie. So to make a verdict on all of this, I think it's a fun movie. It's, as I said before, the start and the ending, I feel very connected to that. It's fun, it's adventurous, it's visually stunning. But when it gets down to the story, which is not really like that much substance or depth there, when it really gets down to the story, it just lacks a lot, and it just lacks originality. And this is the biggest issue I have with this movie. As I said, when you're just looking for, okay, take my brain off and just get stunned by visuals and action, I think this movie is awesome for that, and I think it's perfect for people just getting entertained and not really looking for much more. But even for that, I think this whole middle part, as I said, where I felt disconnected, it's just not really, it's really dragging me out of this picture, out of this world. It's just, I just feel the pacing is off, you know? I just feel like the pacing could have been better in parts, in portions of this movie. I don't want to say that the pacing is not good at all. I just want to say that it could have been paced a little bit better. There are parts where I felt like the pacing was off, and it's just, it's not making me feel boring, but it could have been better, you know? This is the best way I can say it. It's just, it's not very completely well balanced. And again, this is a huge negative because, in my opinion, even the movies which have no depth and no character development whatsoever, there are those kind of movies which are like that, but they have the plus side that they are just engaging the whole way through with just their visuals and their action, and they don't have this disconnect part. They just feel like a one big flow. They feel like, and this movie just doesn't feel like that. In my opinion, it has this huge disconnect in the middle section of this movie, and it does drag down the experience a little bit. So, but still, I think it's generally a pretty good movie. It's just really those couple of negatives I just, pretty much said way too often, which are the reasons why this will not get like an amazing rating or an extraordinary rating when it comes to the scale. And there are one or two things I still wanted to say about this. Yeah, about the cameraman, Mauro Fiore. What I wanted to say about him is what's quite interesting is that like he hasn't made the biggest blockbusters for the last 10 years, but he has recently made the camera work for Spider-Man No Way Home, which is crazy to think. So this is like just a random fact I wanted to bring up because it's just very cool, very cool. And besides that, that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to the sequel still. And as I said before, Avatar to me is not like a very extraordinary, well-made movie. It's not a masterpiece to me. I know it's very controversial. There are people who think it's this big masterpiece, and then there are people who think it's just boring and bad. And there's everything. We know that. I'm not part of that extreme or the other extreme, but I just think it's a well-made movie. It's just not anything more than that. To me, my rating for this movie is a 7 out of 10. It's fine. It's good. It's pretty good, but it's not amazing. And as I said, I've said the negatives, but I've also said all the positives. So this is the reason why this movie is definitely not a bad movie in my opinion. It's just not anything more than just pretty good in my eyes. And as I said before at the start from this video, this is just my honest opinion, and I know opinions change and also change from person to person, so don't judge me. This is just my experience with this movie and my opinion. And but to be honest, this whole opinion about this movie hasn't really changed, at least to my experience. I've already had this this feeling about those feelings about the movie the first time I've seen it. It didn't really change that much over time. I already felt the disconnect when I first watched it, and I still feel it now. But I think I tend to enjoy it more over the years. I really believe I do enjoy it more now, just because I can accept everything. I can just, dive deep into the adventure, and then it's just fun. But as I said, it's not one of my favorite movies, or not one of my absolutely must-see kind of movies. I don't know, like, it's one of those movies, it's just on every movie geek's list, let's be honest, like, everybody needs to watch this movie, but in my opinion, it's not a movie you really must have seen. It's fine, to me, it's not that kind of movie, but it's definitely successful because of reasons, and I think those reasons are justified. I think for what people want and what people get, this movie is um uh what's the right word? This movie is legitimately very successful, and this whole franchise, because let's be honest, it is a franchise now. And I'm looking forward to the sequel later this year. Yeah, just a little side note: the IMDb rating is 7.8, so out of 10. So yeah, you can definitely see that I'm very familiar with IMDb. So you can also see the divide and the divisive opinions on this movie, even in this rating, because yeah, let's be honest, like very, very big movies, which tend to all people be amazed by and love, are going more, are having a higher rating, which is going down to 8 point anything. But this is in the 7 point reach, and you can easily see that that there are many people who are not thinking this is like the huge masterpiece, which some people think. And yeah, and I don't know how many reviews Avatar has on IMDb, but it probably has like a ton. I don't know. It's probably definitely one of the most reviewed, most rated movies on IMDb. I'm pretty sure of that. So probably close to a million, probably even more than a million. I don't know. So yeah, this is the end of my review. I think I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Um, as usual, as hopefully in the future, usually, um, this will be very spontaneous, and it will be like this again in the next couple of reviews. And maybe I will try to make it a little bit shorter this time. It was very, very long. I wouldn't think, I didn't think that I would talk this long about the movie, but it's fine. I just, that's why it's called spontaneous movies reviews. I'm just really not looking at the time. I'm just starting to talk about it, and if I'm done with it, I'm done with it. That's my concept on these reviews, and I don't want to make myself too many limits, or I don't want to make myself any limits. So this is why this movie ended up being nearly an hour long. So yeah, here you go. Um, as I said, looking forward to the sequel. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up or give me a sub on my channel, a subscription. It's free. It's just there. There's the button. You can give it to me. I would be very welcomed, and maybe we will see us again in the next review or in the next reviews. Thank you for watching, and yeah, have a great day and keep watching movies. Bye.